Hey guys, Crystal here from Elite Hair Care USA. So we are back with another transformation video on my client here who, as you can clearly see, has a severe case of alopecia in the crown. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the disclaimer out there once again. My client here has a case of alopecia that is actually scarred in the crown area, in some portions of the crown area. So if you can tell, we don't really have much of a way to mask her hair. So she came in with the idea that she wanted to go ahead and get a relaxer. And then she brought some tracks in for the top portion of her head. So I'm going ahead and going through and applying the relaxer on her hair on the sides and the back. As where you can clearly see, she has a good amount of density in the sides and the back area. Now she did get also a demi color because she is gray. The demi color that we use is an ammonia-free oil-based color. I actually really like the color. It works really well, especially for clients who have chemical services. And it is a plant-based color. Now, in regards to the haircut itself, on the sides and the back, I really did not have a lot of masking that I needed to do. Honestly, the majority of the work for this particular client was in the crown. Her crown area, the thinning and the balding is a very large area. So it's something that, of course, any person would be self-conscious about. But, of course, my goal with all of my clients is to give them a great starting place and an amazing style to boost their confidence. And just to make them know that, guess what? Everything is not a lost cause. Even when it seems like it's a lost cause, it is not. So what I'm doing right now is just going ahead and, cutting the sides and the back. This is kind of like your standard shortcut in regards to the sides and the back. There's no added dimension or added techniques or anything crazy like that because I'm not masking anything. She actually was in a very good place on the sides and the back of her head. Now for the hairline, it was a little sparse, so I did leave the hair a little bit longer in the front just so I had something to work with when the hair was dry. Now with the molding process, I did go ahead and mold the sides and the back with the Bronner Brothers Professional Foam. And then for her top area, I did have to go with what we call the liquid cap or liquid protectant system, where basically you protect the scalp using a gel first. And a lot of people do this the wrong way, and this is where people get in even more hair loss. So you have to add a protective barrier. So the protective barrier that I use, because it's water soluble, is I use gel. So I use a very thin coat of gel on the top of her head. And then I use some wrap strips, which is the end papers that you use from rollers. I used one wrap strip just because I wanted to also protect. She does have some follicles in that area, a very few, but I still wanted to protect those follicles and also to protect that area. So I used a end paper over the gel, and then you are going to allow this area to thoroughly dry. The worst thing you can do, and this is also where people get this part wrong, is they go and they put their liquid cap or growth protect or whatever they want to call the system that they use right over this area, and it's wet. That is the easiest way to create a ground for bacteria to grow. So this area has to be thoroughly dried first before you apply the protector that is going to protect that area from the bonding glue. So what I did was I went ahead and just rope twisted her hair all the way around just to keep that area from touching the sides and back. And then I used a wrap strip around the sides and the back to keep that area laid down because that's a very important area as well. And then we're going to put her under the dryer. She'll be under the dryer for about 45 to 55 minutes. And once that area in the top dries, then I apply the protector and let her go back under the dryer to let that then dry on top. Now her hair is all the way dry. I did already put the Grow Protect on, so now it is time for the styling. Now I'm going through and I'm just using my edgers to create, the detailing of the hairline. For me, I like sideburns, but for her, she didn't have on this side of her head. She had a little more sparseness on the hairline. So what I did was I used the hair that she had there to create the illusion that there was a full hairline there, and then I just used my clippers to create an actual edge. This is something that is very common Some people have it, some people don't. So you got to use what they have for their advantage. Use what you have to get what you want. Yes. So I'm just edging her sides and her back. I didn't thin down the hair anymore in regards to the sides and the back because it was actually cut in a great way for me and for the style that I was going for. And then it's easier to manage for her. I didn't want to take it too low where, I mean, she's already suffering from alopecia. The worst thing you can do is go and take unnecessary hair for no apparent reason. So this particular portion did not require much more cutting. Now, I did leave out the hair that she had in the front on her own hair on purpose. Why? Because I wanted to use that to her advantage. While I could have covered up the entire top portion, why would I want to cover up hair that is in good condition, that needs that ability to grow out and become a little healthier and a lot stronger, and then just use the weave where it was really needed? So this is a very customized service. This is not going to be the same for every single client. Now, in regards to style, yes, the style can still be the same, but you have to deal with different situations. Whereas in her hair is thinning in certain places, so I'm using hair from other places to cover the areas that I needed to cover. So what I'm going to do now, as you guys can see, I just wanted you to see that it was dry. It does dry clear, but there is an actual protective barrier there. There's 3 levels of protection in that area. And then I'm able to put the bonding glue directly on the area, and it never actually touches the hair or the scalp. So that's the good thing about those growth protect systems. Everything is by choice. I don't like to use stocking caps and stuff like that. Some people like to base it with glue around the sides to hold it. No, I like this system a lot better. So what I'm doing is I'm filling in the balding area with the actual tracks. And these tracks are kind of going one on top of the other because I'm trying to create a level of density for her because she doesn't have a lot of density in the crown area, as you guys can clearly tell. So when I'm doing these kinds of tracks, I'm actually doing them in almost a U or kind of like a half U shape because I wanted some hair to be around the sides and kind of drop towards the back. Now, I didn't put the tracks in between her hair on the sides, which I could have. But for this particular style, I decided to try it this way first. And then she'll be coming every 3 weeks. She actually lives about an hour and a half away. And she refuses to go to any stylist in her area because she feels like there are none. And I did also advise her that, it's still going to be convenient to find at least one person that you can rely on in an emergency. Because while coming to me is amazing, thank you, I appreciate it, I still have to make sure that it's convenient for my client. But she is adamant on absolutely not. So I'll be seeing her every 3 weeks to take care of her hair. So now all of the tracks are applied, and I'm adding a little bit of our Elite Masket in the color black to the area that is a little thinner so I can actually cover the tracks. And then, of course, I'm combing it through to give it the illusion of scalp. Now, you can make it as dark or as light as you want. I just wanted it to look like a natural scalp where you can actually see almost follicles on purpose because you don't want it to appear that something is in the spot, right? Right. So now I'm using my razor and I'm just thinning down the areas that I did put the hair in. And then I'm going to go back with my shears to give the actual cut. While I do love using the razor, I absolutely adore my shears. I did go to school. I did go to cosmetology school. I've done enough training where my shears are going to be my best friend. So I'm just giving her a little bit of layering. And remember, her hair is included in this. I did cut off those little spiky pieces that she had that were a little too long or a little too short. The too short areas, I just left them where they were, let them lay where they are, and they'll grow on out. So for the style, I did use a little bit of our Frizz Tamer and Shine Serum on the sides and the back and a little bit on her hair in the crown area. Now, you don't want to put too much on the extension hair because it's going to make it very heavy. And remember, a little goes an extremely long way. Now, I did see some areas that I needed to go back and fine tune, which is perfectly fine. Don't be afraid to fine tune. Detailing is very important. And then in regards to the top of her head, we didn't do much more cutting. It was more about the styling. So just make sure that when you're doing your fine tuning, your detailing, and your finish is almost the most, it's not even almost, it is absolutely the most important, because that is what people see when the client leaves. That is what the client sees. The client sees the process as well, but the finish is what they truly care about. So you want to make sure your finish is absolutely flawless. Now I used a little bit of Sebastian Shaper. I was gonna tell her like, you can just go right now, and I just left it there, but I didn't. And as you can see, I was able to lift the front and put it in a ponytail, and it doesn't look like there were tracks there, guys. Like, this is the purpose. You want it to look as natural as possible. Now, if you want it to look weavy, that's fine too. We can do that as well. But for her, I wanted her to feel comfortable in her own skin, and only just understanding that the hair that we added was more for accentuation and covering, and that is not going to be her life forever. Hopefully. Okay. So I'm just doing a little bit of vertical curling, just some really quick curls to add a little bit of dimension and volume. And then we'll go ahead and comb her and style her, and she is good to go. So I'm going to let you guys finish or watch the finishing of the style, and then I'll come back and we'll talk a little bit more about what's going on. Okay, guys, so we have officially finished the majority of her style. I do still have a little bit of fine tuning that I needed to do in regards to the actual finish. But if you guys notice, can you see the happiness on her face? Like, she was so excited when she walked into the salon. I had to tell her to take a step back and take a whole breath, because she was going like 900 miles an hour. But when I tell you, when we were finished with her hair, she literally was ready to walk out of the salon and go and book a reservation for her to go and have lunch for herself, by herself, with herself, just because of the level of confidence that she had, knowing that that area was not seen and no one actually knew that something was wrong with that area. And that's what gave me it gives me a lot of joy in regards to what I do, because I never knew what my absolute purpose would be in regards to the hair industry. I just knew that I wanted to do something that would make a difference. And this is where I finally figured my way out, and I said, okay, this is for me. This is where I get my enjoyment of actually being a hairstylist, and not just standing behind my chair, just giving the typical haircut, giving the typical braids, typical bobs. This is where the enjoyment comes. And not to knock anyone who does that, but I'm going to say it this way. Find your purpose and stick with it. That's all. Now, for the finished style, I did over direct a little bit of the hair behind the ear because I wanted to cover some of that area. But when I tell you this baby was so ready, she was so ready. Guys, tell me what you think in the comments. And don't forget, if you're new to my channel, hit the subscribe button and please thumbs up this video. Thanks.